The Guerrilla Startup Map. In today's startup world, people often talk about million-dollar business models, grandiose plans, and startups that raise capital from shows like Shark Tank. But behind that halo, tens of thousands of people are starting up in silence, without a logo, without a significant social media presence, without media attention. They don't run ads, they don't focus on building a brand initially. They survive by executing small but effective actions. They are the people selling noodles at the gate, delivering miniature plants to desks, washing air conditioners, preparing homemade nut milk each morning, or telling stories to children by the hour. No signboard, no office, perhaps no formal startup label, but real money, real customers, real livelihoods. That is guerrilla-style entrepreneurship. They don't attack the main market head-on but target small, neglected niches. They don't use scale as their weapon. Instead, they leverage speed, leanness, and flexibility as advantages. If you think, I don't have money, I don't know anyone, I don't have anything special, so I can't start a business, then you may be completely misunderstanding how entrepreneurship can work. Starting a business doesn't always mean going big initially. Sometimes, starting right means finding a small foothold based on what you already possess. Building a base in a specific niche, making quick moves to test the waters, and retreating smartly if the market doesn't respond. That is the guerrilla mindset, realistic, pragmatic, and extremely viable. There is a harsher reality than many think. 90% of startups die not because their ideas are inherently bad, but because they try to act too much like established corporations too soon. When they are still weak, they invest systematically but slowly. They research the market, but often too late. They try to build a brand before they even have their first customers. In the end, they slowly die, suffocated by their own grand strategy. While guerrilla startups, often without an office or a 5-year plan, survive because they understand one thing: the market is the ultimate testing ground. And on this testing ground, no one ultimately asks if you studied at Harvard, finished high school, or failed a university entrance exam. People just look to see if you can deliver results and meet a need. Guerrilla entrepreneurship is not a temporary job just for fun or merely firefighting, crisis management. Guerrilla entrepreneurship is the art of smart starting up, employed by people who know they might start small or resource-constrained but are determined not to lose. It's a survival strategy for those who understand that starting with limited resources doesn't mean you cannot achieve anything. And in this video, you will not see high-level theories or million-dollar formulas. You will see how someone with limited resources but strong self-awareness can start. How to choose the right niche, one that's not overcrowded but viable. How to launch quickly, earn real money, secure initial sales, and, crucially, how to retreat or pivot wisely to preserve resources and fight another day. People with money might worry about establishing a formal company structure. People with more resources might focus on raising capital. But people without extensive money, connections, or degrees can still start a business if they know how to operate guerrilla style. Combined into previous sentence. Hello friends, you are on the Thwa Thuong Nyan channel, where we share real stories, strategic perspectives, and the mindset for building wealth from ordinary life. And next, you will see that the guerrilla startup approach doesn't necessarily start with money. But it does start with a map, like navigating a dense forest. Guerrilla soldiers don't always need the biggest guns, they need to know the terrain and their position. The same applies to startups. Most startups fail not primarily due to a lack of capital, connections, or skills, but because they enter the battle without a clear map or plan. Just imagine a soldier with courage and skills who doesn't know the terrain. That turning left leads to the enemy. Turning right leads to an abyss. And going straight leads into a trap. In such a situation, the more skilled they are, the faster they might rush into danger. The guerrilla startup map is not a 50-page business plan or a complex financial model. It only includes 4 essential points. 1. Your fulcrum. What do you already have? This includes your skills, existing resources, relationships, knowledge, understanding, and true passions. 2. Your base. Which battlefield will you choose? This involves identifying a niche market, often small products or services that larger players overlook. 3. Your battle plan. How will you engage? This means launching quickly, testing the market leanly, collecting revenue early, and avoiding wasted resources. 4. Your exit strategy. If things don't work out, how do you retreat or pivot? How can you avoid losing everything, going into debt, or getting emotionally bogged down? This is not just a mind map but a survival map. Without a base, you wander like a disoriented soldier. Without a fulcrum, you rush in empty-handed. Without a battle plan, you act randomly and exhaust yourself. Without a retreat plan, you risk significant financial loss and debt. In reality, most successful small startups in Vietnam follow the guerrilla style. No need to name specific examples. But they survive. They succeed on their terms. They make money. And they often gain freedom. They make cakes, sell specialized tools, take orders for personally sourced cosmetics, perform small hourly services, collect and resell old items, take photos, or work as freelancers. The idea of a startup might seem grand, but every action these individuals take is like a smart, targeted move in battle. Most importantly, they don't wait for perfection before engaging. They just need to map it out in their head and dare to take the first small step to continue the journey. I will tell you a story full of hidden meanings. Once upon a time, there was a goat herder living in a rugged mountainous area. Every day, he took his goats up the hill, crossing streams, and navigating rocky crevices and paths along steep cliffs. He had no gun, no hunting dogs, and no modern maps like tourists might use. But his goats never got lost. And he never lost one. Why? Because that boy had drawn a map in his head long before anyone taught him how to do it. He knew which mossy rock on the left was slippery and should be avoided. He knew which stream would flood during the rainy season. He knew which areas needed to be bypassed before dark. He knew which patch of grass might harbor snakes and which was safe. He knew which footprints belonged to foxes and which belonged to bears. He remembered everything, not with pen and paper, but through intuition, experience, and the instinct for survival. The map in his head wasn't something to show off, it was something that helped him survive. And because he had that map, he wouldn't get lost. No matter the jungle, the rain, or the terrain, he always found the way. It's the same with starting a business. People with ample money might follow a metaphorical GPS, a detailed, conventional plan. People without money often have to draw their own survival map. A map perhaps without flashy routes or locations precise to the centimeter. But one that clearly identifies where you are standing, your fulcrum. Where you should set up, your base. Where you should strike, your battle plan. And when to escape, your exit strategy. Lacking this kind of map often leads to flawed strategies. The core problem often isn't starting with a lack of capital, but starting without knowing where you stand. Without that knowledge, you rush in like a blind person in the middle of a battle. The more you try to proceed without direction, the more lost you become. The more money you spend without direction, the more disoriented you become. Many think a map is something you create after you succeed. But no, a map is something you need before you even take the first step. And guerrilla entrepreneurs don't need a perfect map. They just need a map realistic enough to avoid catastrophic failure, mitigate unnecessary risks, and preserve their ability to continue. And from here, you will join me in exploring each piece of the guerrilla map. We'll cover how to find your personal fulcrum amidst the chaos of life, how to choose the right niche and base to avoid failing from the start, how to launch quickly, act decisively, and generate revenue early, and, most importantly, how to retreat skillfully, preserving resources, keeping the fire burning, without being overwhelmed, breaking the load. Because you don't need to be the strongest, you just need to be the one who understands the battlefield best. Map piece number 1. The fulcrum, your personal weapon. We start with the most important element. One that many people ignore. What do I already have in my hands? People with money use money as capital. People without money must use themselves, their skills, knowledge, and resourcefulness as their primary weapon in guerrilla entrepreneurship. The first thing a soldier must determine is where they can cling to, rest, hide, and attack from. Without a fulcrum, they can't go far. Without a fulcrum, they have no stable point to return to or operate from. In starting a business, your fulcrum comprises all the resources you already possess without needing to purchase them. A skill you used to excel at but perhaps forgot. A task you can perform well but might consider trivial. A relationship that seems ordinary but could be a bridge. A hidden passion that has never been developed into a product or service. The fulcrum doesn't need to be grand, it just needs to be specific and potent enough for you to make your first small move. The mistake many aspiring entrepreneurs make is looking for million-dollar ideas instead of looking back at what they already possess. They think starting a business is like getting on a speedboat when they don't know how to swim. And so they drown. Guerrilla entrepreneurs, on the contrary, start from the smallest thing they do best, even if it's just cooking meals for children. Cutting hair, writing compelling social media updates, or washing cars, without shame or hesitation. Because they understand that even a seemingly small skill can be a powerful fulcrum. So how do you determine your own fulcrum to start a business? Ask yourself, what do I do that others often ask me for help with? What problems am I able to solve faster or better than others? What challenges have I overcome using my own personal skills or efforts? What passion do I have that could potentially help others? List all your potential resources, professional skills, hobbies, experiences, relationships, relatives, friends, old partners, available tools, phone, motorbike, computer, home space, language abilities, specific knowledge, and understanding of local culture. Choose a single point that can potentially be converted into revenue relatively quickly. It doesn't need to be glamorous or large scale, it just needs to be real. The first fulcrum doesn't guarantee success, but it helps you start. And starting provides the motivation to continue. Let's delve into a real story. A country girl with no degree, no capital, and no business knowledge, but possessing one core skill she was confident in. The ability to wrap traditional cakes beautifully, launched her first guerrilla initiative. She had no shop, no delivery vehicle, no fan page. Just a pair of skillful hands and an old wooden table in the corner of her kitchen. From there, she began paving her own path. Our character's name is Tu Hong. From Chao Tan, Tianjiang. She did not go to university after finishing high school. Hong initially followed her mother into work as a sewing worker. Then quit due to a family situation. She didn't know how to use Excel. Didn't have a TikTok account. And never thought she'd start a business. But she possessed one particular skill. She wrapped traditional cakes, like Bon Yu and Bonnet, more beautifully than anyone else in her neighborhood. Every Tet holiday, Hong was always invited to help wrap these cakes. She had learned from her mother at a young age and become proficient. Her hands moved quickly as she wrapped. Each cake was neat and visually appealing. The cakes were soft but held their shape. The fragrance from the leaves was pleasant but not overpowering. That skill was her guerrilla weapon. It's just that she never thought it could make money. One day, early in the year, she went to Ho Chi Minh City to help her sister sell rice. She saw some young people selling traditional cakes in boxes on Shopee for 89 Vietnamese dongs. The packaging was beautiful, and the reviews were glowing. She muttered, "I wrap these cakes more beautifully than that. Why don't I try selling them?" Her mother told her to stop worrying and just find a regular company job. Her sister mentioned that people in Saigon ate bonnet, but Hong decided to take the initiative anyway. She put her faith in the only thing she knew for sure. She could wrap the cakes beautifully and make them delicious. Hong's guerrilla entrepreneurial journey started by borrowing her sister's kitchen to cook early in the morning. Using an old phone to take pictures of the cakes on a wooden table. And posting them for sale on her personal Facebook. Initially, no one bought them, but she persisted, wrapping more and sharing them with a few households around her sister's boarding house. A female worker tried them, found them delicious, and ordered 20 to take back to her hometown. Then another person texted, asking if she could wrap 30 for an offering tray. There was no advertising, just word of mouth, no fancy packaging design, just clean banana leaves, no grand promises, just skillful hands wrapping the cakes and patience. 2 months later, Hong was selling an average of 300 cakes a week, earning 2 million Vietnamese dongs, then 4 million, then 7 million Vietnamese dongs a month. She still hadn't opened a shop or created a brand name, but everyday customers were calling, asking specifically for her. "Let me order Hong's cakes." They'd say, "Her cakes are wrapped so beautifully." Hong didn't set out to build a large business. She just leveraged the right fulcrum, her skill, and emerged at the right time. Hitting a market niche. People in Saigon remembered traditional cakes like bon yu and bonnet. But few were making them authentically. Combined into previous sentence, she did it right and found success. The lesson here is not about the cake itself, but the fulcrum. Everyone likely has their own equivalent skill, their own cake wrapping ability. Have you ever seriously considered yours? Try to look back at yourself. Are you taking lightly something you are better at than others? Do you possess a skill that seems small but could potentially help others? If you do, that is your fulcrum, and with that fulcrum, you can absolutely start your first guerrilla initiative. Guerrilla entrepreneurs often don't start with financial capital, but with life capital, their inherent skills and resources. Imagine you are standing in the middle of a dense forest with no signs, no trails, no guides. You want to escape, but you can't run haphazardly. You have to find a fulcrum first. A familiar tree root, a large rock, a small stream. From there, you observe, mark your position, and calculate the path. Guerrilla entrepreneurship is the same. Without a fulcrum, without a clear direction from the beginning, you will lose direction, become exhausted, and likely give up. After determining your fulcrum, don't immediately try to start a big business. Find a really small, targeted first step or offering. Specifically, find something that can be deployed immediately, perhaps within 7 days. For example, if you are good with children, offer to babysit by the hour at your home or theirs. If you write well, offer to write articles, captions, or other content for hire. Offer CV writing or editing services. If you cook well, make a few portions of a specific dish to sell locally, e.g. in your boarding house or neighborhood. If you have a motorbike, offer to deliver goods for nearby shops during specific hours. If you are good at wrapping gifts, offer services decorating boxes or making handmade items to order. The guerrilla mindset isn't about idealizing. It's about asking if something can be deployed immediately. If the answer is yes, you have started the journey. No guerrilla initiative is perfect from the beginning. Only initiatives that actually start have a chance. As long as you dare to start, you are ahead of the 90% of people still just preparing to start a business. Try to choose your personal fulcrum. Set up a small base of operations. Launch the first strike, your initial offering, and find a way to get your first real customer. When you do that, you have truly begun the process. This leads us to map piece number 2, the base, choosing your battlefield. Here, we'll delve into the strategy of selecting a viable guerrilla market. A niche small enough to manage but large enough to sustain you and allow you to succeed on your terms. Finding your niche base. Guerrilla entrepreneurs don't need a huge market. They just need a small corner that larger opponents haven't noticed or deem unimportant. Imagine you only have a metaphorical slingshot and a few pebbles. Facing giants armed with significant resources, like heavy artillery and extensive supply lines. You can't attack them head-on. You have to target a niche. That's why every guerrilla startup needs a base, an operational focus located within a very narrow, specific market, one that few large players pay attention to. The core concept of the base is a niche market. Not necessarily large, but enough to live on. Not overcrowded, but containing the right target audience. Addressing a specific, necessary need, and crucially, it addresses gaps or unmet needs that no one else has solved properly. Common mistakes when choosing a base include overly broad approaches, like opening a generic coffee shop because everyone drinks coffee, selling general clothing because everyone needs clothes, or offering basic website design because everyone needs online marketing. That mindset makes you rush into a wide battlefield already dominated by strong opponents, where you will likely disappear without understanding why. Guerrilla entrepreneurs operate differently. They don't primarily ask how big the market is. They ask, is there a small group of people with an urgent need that isn't being served properly? Look closely at yourself and your surrounding environment. Is there something people need that few places offer? Is there a type of customer complaining that a specific service or product is hard to find? Is there a group whose specific needs aren't being understood or met? Is there a small community willing to spend money and try new things? For example, instead of selling standard bon chung, maybe sell a version with less sticky rice specifically for the elderly. Instead of general children's books, focus on emotional learning books specifically for first graders in your province. Instead of opening a standard hair salon, Offer a home haircut service specifically for the elderly in your neighborhood or alley. Instead of being a general freelance writer, specialize in writing personalized content for professionals in a specific field, like psychotherapy. Then, see if there's a quick way to connect with them. Is there an existing connection you can leverage for a first trial order? Is there someone in that group willing to introduce you or vouch for you if you do well? Is there a community you used to belong to, where you understand the psychology and needs? Combined into previous sentence, the first victory in guerrilla startups often comes from choosing the right battlefield. Even if it's small, you have to be familiar with the terrain, understand the psychology of the target group, and be close enough, physically or digitally, to take action right away. Here, you will meet a man living in Bao Loc City. He was just an employee who quit his job during the pandemic. But he discovered an overlooked niche related to moving delicate items. Specifically, delivering miniature bonsai plants to offices without spilling soil. From this insight, he established his first base of operations, using his old motorbike. Starting a business doesn't always begin with a big product. Sometimes it just starts by solving a small problem that no one else has properly addressed. Our main character is Trong Hua, 32 years old. He used to be a customer service employee for an electronics company in Bao Loc. He lived in a row of rented houses and commuted by old motorbike, earning an average income. Then the company downsized. He quit his job, with only enough savings to live for 2 months. He had no capital, no plan, and no direction. On days when he felt down, he often wandered around looking for cheap plants to bring home and cultivate. One morning, while pruning a succulent, he overheard a neighbor complaining, "I want to give a miniature bonsai to a friend, but I don't know how to transport it. The delivery guys always spill the soil. It's so frustrating." That sentence sparked an idea in Mr. Trong Hoa's head. He began to observe the miniature plant trend more closely. It was indeed a popular trend in offices. Many people bought them to decorate desks or as birthday gifts. But no one offered professional delivery. Deliveries often involved simple plastic bags, tied carelessly. That was a gap, a small niche service that no one bothered to execute properly. Hua realized this could be his operational base. He acted decisively. He cleaned up his old motorbike and added a simple wooden frame to securely hold pots. He bought a few inexpensive mini pots at the market, planted succulents and cacti, wrote small notes wishing the recipients a happy workday, and delivered them for free to 3 friends, requesting feedback. The next day, one of those friends posted a picture of the plant on Facebook. A few comments appeared, asking about doorstep delivery. Hua immediately started taking orders via message, delivering every morning between 7 o'clock and 10 a.m., with orders needing to be placed a day in advance. Then came 1 order, 2 orders, 3 orders. He didn't have a fan page and didn't need to run ads. He just leveraged the right terrain, his local knowledge. He was familiar with offices near the city center. Used his available resource, a motorbike likely worth less than 3 million Vietnamese dongs, and launched a service that didn't previously exist in that form. Who would have thought you could make money delivering miniature plants to desks? Ensuring no spilled soil or mess? An early customer commented, "I only bought a 35 Vietnamese dongs plant, but the careful delivery made me feel respected, as if I'd bought something worth millions." 3 months later, Hua had more than 100 regular office customers. Some companies regularly ordered combos of 10 to 20 plants for employee birthdays. He hired a student part-time to help plant the trees. His first month's income was 3 million Vietnamese dongs. By the 3rd month, his income exceeded 10 million Vietnamese dongs. He didn't need to open a shop or build a brand. His base of operations remained simple: his motorbike route, a supply of small plants, and a market niche full of service gaps. The lesson isn't about starting a business by planting trees, but about the mindset. Choosing a niche not because it seems easy, but because it seems underserved or empty. Don't look for something big to do. Look for something small that no one else is doing right. Are you standing in front of a small niche but haven't recognized it yet? Is there a group of customers around you being neglected? Is there a common problem that everyone endures because no one has offered a proper solution? If such a situation exists, that could be your guerrilla base. Don't ask if the market is large. Ask if anyone within a potential market is being neglected. In guerrilla startups, niches don't just appear out of nowhere. They aren't always found on Google. They are often discovered in everyday life. If you want to find a market base, you need to sharpen your observation skills. Observe closely, almost like a spy. Start by considering these points. What problems do people around you often complain about that haven't been adequately solved? Is there a group of people you understand deeply because you are or were a part of it? Is there a service currently being performed poorly, carelessly, or superficially that you could do better? Is there a rising trend where related services haven't yet fully developed? A guerrilla startup base doesn't necessarily need a physical sign, but it generally requires 3 conditions. 1. A location, physical or virtual, you actively control, such as your home, a small workshop space, a specific online group, a Zalo group, a personal social media page, or a TikTok account. The important thing is that you can coordinate activities from this base. 2. A source of goods or services that is simple and allows for inexpensive trials. You don't need luxury goods initially, you need offerings that meet the target need. Prioritize items or services that can be delivered or sold quickly. 3. Simple channels for communication and payment collection, such as personal messaging apps, a phone number, QR codes for payment, like Momo in Vietnam, or bank transfers. Core principle: the base doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be sufficient to launch the first strike. This mindset differs from the conventional approach of perfecting a product before selling. A guerrilla startup needs to launch a test offering first, even if it isn't perfectly polished. But it should be targeted. Why? Because when customers are willing to pay, you have proven that the niche you chose has a real pain point, and that you have a potential ability to solve it. You don't need to wait for the perfect product to start selling. Guerrilla startups don't require you to be exceptionally smart, rich, or well-connected from the start. They primarily require you to observe effectively. Start small, target effectively, and learn quickly. You have identified your fulcrum. You have established your initial niche base. Now it's time to engage the market. But how should you proceed? What path should you follow? Let's move to map piece number 3. The battle plan, launching and acting quickly. This covers how to operate efficiently to generate revenue quickly. This piece of the map shows how to deploy, test the market, and generate revenue quickly without getting bogged down. The guerrilla entrepreneur doesn't wait for the perfect time. They create opportunities through swift, decisive action that targets a specific need. Most startups fail not because of a bad idea, but often because they move too slowly. They spend months preparing brand names, logos, designs, price lists, and writing 5-year marketing strategies. While the market might shift multiple times, guerrilla startups operate differently. They don't need perfection, they need action. First, the concept. Acting quickly and operating leanly isn't about being sloppy. It's a deliberate strategy based on 3 principles. 1. Engage the market, launch, as soon as realistically possible. Test the market as quickly as possible. 2. Keep costs as low as possible. Every misstep should be a learning opportunity, not a catastrophic loss. 3. Generate revenue, get paid, as soon as possible. Immediately confirm whether the market is willing to pay. In guerrilla strategy, even a small opportunity or a fleeting gap is enough reason to act. Starting a business follows the same principle. You don't necessarily need to open a physical store, sometimes. You just need to connect with a customer's need at the right time. The process for effective engagement often involves these stages: detecting demand, testing small with a real target group, and securing initial sales leanly once you have your first few customers. Don't rush to expand prematurely. The guerrilla mindset involves controlling the pace so as not to overextend resources too soon. If you decide to expand, it should be calculated based on real demand, clear profitability, and the ability to sustain operations with current resources. A successful guerrilla startup can often generate revenue from its initial efforts and reinvest small amounts back into the operation, without immediately needing to seek external capital or create elaborate future visions. Next, we'll explore a real story. It's the true story of a kindergarten teacher who quit her job with only 2 million Vietnamese dongs in her pocket. She started a simple service offering hourly storytelling sessions for children. And from there, She was able to make a living from her passion. Not everyone who quits their job starts empty-handed in terms of skills or passions. Some people only need metaphorical tools like a few books and a warm voice to forge a path. Our next character is Nak Mai, 29 years old, who used to be a kindergarten teacher in District 9, Ho Chi Minh City. After 5 years of teaching, she quit her job, not out of fear, but because her income wasn't sufficient. Increasing pressure and a family incident forced her to stop working. She had only a little over 2 million Vietnamese dongs left, along with a few old lesson plans and an unconditional love for children. She didn't know where to start again. Her friends suggested changing careers to sales or office work, but deep down, she still wanted to do something related to children, something that made her feel valuable. One afternoon, while playing with her friend's child, she spontaneously told a fairy tale in the engaging way she used to in her classroom. The child sat eagerly, eyes bright, listening to every word. At the end of the story, the child's mother exclaimed, "Ms. Mai, why don't you offer storytelling sessions for children? There's a real lack of good storytellers these days." That sentence sparked an idea. Mai realized she didn't need a school, a classroom, a blackboard, or chalk. She just needed children and her storytelling ability to start. And so, her first initiative began. She wrote a very simple post on her personal Facebook, offering storytelling sessions for children aged 3 to 7. Helps with listening, new words, and understanding emotions. Each session is 30 minutes. Inbox me. Combined into previous sentence. Mai offered 3 initial storytelling sessions at the children's homes, accepting the first 3 for free as a test. After just 1 day, 5 messages were sent to her requesting the free session. She went to each child's house and told stories just like she did in class. Some children laughed, some clapped, some hugged her neck afterward. After the first week of free sessions, 2 parents asked, "Ms. Mai, can you do 2 sessions a week? We'll pay whatever is fair, as long as the child enjoys it." Storytelling became her service. She didn't need aggressive sales tactics. She just needed to deliver her skill effectively to the right audience with the right need. After a month, she had 7 children regularly attending sessions. With each child attending 2 sessions a week, she achieved a steady income of over 6 million Vietnamese dongs. She typically worked in the morning, prepared content in the afternoon, and rested at night. Her only significant costs were a few children's books and travel expenses. She was still a teacher, but on her own terms. She still worked but no longer depended on a school system. And most importantly, she earned money from her existing skills without needing extensive retraining or new resources. Nak Mai didn't start with a physical product. She started by executing a small, specific action, offering storytelling, at the right time and targeting the right people. That is a very real, very effective guerrilla startup approach. Have you ever done something that makes others exclaim, "Why don't you do this as a career?" Have you ever helped or taught someone something genuinely, without expecting payment, but they felt deeply grateful? Maybe that skill is your storytelling time. And perhaps now is the time to secure your first paying customer. No initiative is too small. If it helps you survive and generate some income, generating that initial income is meaningful if it helps you move forward another day. So far, we have 3 pieces of the map: the fulcrum, the base, and the battle plan. Now, the final piece, which is no less important, map piece number 4, the exit strategy. Retreating or pivoting at the right time. Preserving resources without catastrophic loss. Guerrilla fighters don't perish because they are inherently weak, but sometimes because they don't know when to strategically retreat. Similarly, entrepreneurs often don't collapse due to lack of initial capital, but because they cling too long to something that is no longer viable. In conflict, there's a kind of silent, cruel failure stemming not from firepower, but from stubbornness. When the order is clear to retreat, a soldier might hold out, hoping for a miracle or fearing being called a quitter. Entrepreneurship shares parallels. Many don't fail at the very beginning but fail later by holding on too tightly. They cling to a business model that has worn out. They cling to a product that no longer has sufficient customer demand. They cling to a way of operating that is no longer suitable. And most dangerously, they cling to the sunk cost fallacy. I've already put so much into this, so I have to keep going. The guerrilla entrepreneur, however, thinks differently. They always keep an exit door open, not because they are weak, but because they understand that survival today is necessary to fight tomorrow. They know that withdrawing strategically is not the same as losing. Withdrawing can mean resting, regrouping, gathering strength, and preparing to re-engage differently. The mentality of, once you start, you must follow through to the end, while sounding persistent, can be a double-edged sword in practical strategy. Persisting at the wrong time can be unwise stubbornness. Sticking to the wrong model means burning money, energy, and trust. So, guerrilla entrepreneurs must learn to think smartly about when to exit or pivot. They often have a plan B, a way to retreat, or a direction to pivot towards. They don't let emotions dictate their strategic actions, they let data and market feedback guide them. Here are 3 situations indicating when you might need to withdraw or pivot immediately. 1. Persistent lack of sales. Customers consistently don't pay, or sales continuously decline, despite multiple attempts to adjust pricing, offerings, or channels. This likely means real demand has vanished or been captured by a stronger competitor. At this point, consider withdrawing that specific product or service. Try to retain the customer base, if possible, and find a new, more suitable offering. 2. Burnout or diminishing returns. You might be making some money but are constantly tired and unhappy. You feel drained of energy. The opportunity cost, what else you could be doing, feels too high. You lack time to develop new skills. You are constantly chasing orders and no longer feel in control of your operation. At this time, consider withdrawing from the old way of doing things. Options include optimizing processes, hiring help, automating tasks, or simply pausing to recover. 3. A significantly better opportunity emerges. A new opportunity arises, e.g., a collaboration offer, a clearly better direction that has significantly higher potential, e.g., 3 to 5 times. But you hesitate to leave your current model due to attachment, sunk costs, or existing regular customers. If the new opportunity genuinely has much greater potential and you have the capacity to pivot, consider a strategic withdrawal from the old. Notify loyal old customers early. Maintain relationships if possible, and then make a clear shift. Strength isn't always about fighting to the bitter end, sometimes it's knowing when to stop to survive and fight another day. Retreat doesn't necessarily mean ending the war. Retreating at the right time can be the start of a smarter approach. A guerrilla campaign often involves many skirmishes. The survivor is the one who knows how to preserve their forces for the next engagement. Right after this, you will hear an extremely realistic story. A woman selling breakfast failed twice. But the third time, by retreating appropriately and pivoting to selling handmade nut milk, she not only survived but also gained dozens of regular office customers within a 3 kilometers radius. Our character is Ms. Nguyen T. Kim Nung, 38 years old. Living in District 12, Ho Chi Minh City. She used to be a tailor. She quit her job after giving birth to her second child. She decided to open a small breakfast shop in front of her house, selling traditional noodle dishes. At first, she worked very hard, waking up at 3 a.m. to prepare, cook, and serve by herself. But after 2 months, she still had only a few customers. Some days, much of the food went unsold. She was losing money, effort, and spirit. She fell into a state common among struggling small business owners. She continued partly because she felt invested due to the effort and money already spent. Even though she knew the more she worked, the more exhausted she became. Her husband suggested, "Why don't you take a few days off and rethink things? This is taking a toll on you." She might have replied, "If I quit now, after all this effort, who will help provide for the children? If I let go now, it will feel like a total loss." She thought or said. So, she continued to struggle. But the more she struggled, the more exhausted she became. One day, exhausted, she accidentally fell asleep while cooking and spilled a whole pot of noodles. Later, she had to go to the hospital due to low blood pressure. She finally admitted to herself that she was wasting her energy on the wrong model. She wasn't failing because her cooking was bad, but because she had chosen the wrong operational base and was fighting the wrong battle, wrong market fit. After a week of rest, she observed the market around her neighborhood and discovered that most residents were office workers. They didn't typically prefer heavy breakfasts but enjoyed nut milks. juices, and other healthy takeaway drinks. She remembered from her old company days. She had learned recipes for making various nut and grain milks, like green bean, pandan leaf, lotus seed, and brown rice milk. From that point, she chose to retreat from the noodle business. She stopped selling noodles and sold the large pot. She used the money to buy a grain grinder and a small milk cooker. She changed her focus, conserved her energy, and launched a new, smaller-scale initiative. She started selling handmade nut milk delivered to homes within a 3 kilometers radius. The first week, she made 20 bottles and gave them to 10 acquaintances to try. Each bottle had a simple, handwritten label noting, "No preservatives. Made fresh daily. Pre-order 1 day in advance." Within 2 days, people were reordering, often 2 bottles each. Someone even asked if she could make walnut milk. She smiled, nodded, went home, looked up the recipe on Google, and tried cooking it. She didn't grow rapidly, but each step felt like a correct one. 3 months later, she already had 30 regular weekly customers. They were mostly office workers, mothers, and elderly people seeking healthy options. Her income wasn't huge, around 10 to 12 million Vietnamese dongs a month, but it was steady and honestly earned. Most importantly, she lived without the previous exhaustion. Her family's situation changed from stressful to stable, from merely surviving to living more fully. The biggest lesson here isn't about nut milk itself, but about retreating, or pivoting, at the right time. If Ms. Nung had stubbornly continued the noodle soup battle on the wrong battlefield, she likely would have lost not only capital but also her health, self-respect, and hope. Retreating, in this case, meant changing direction, not accepting defeat. Are you currently trying to sustain an old model, a worn-out way of doing things, or a product whose time has passed? Are you afraid of being perceived as a failure if you stop, even though internally you know it's not working? If so, remember that smart people aren't defined by never letting go. Smart people know when to let go or pivot. Guerrillas are not mercenaries blindly following orders. They are strategists who know very well when to engage and when to conserve resources. Because survival is the first condition for winning the next battle. Combined into previous sentence, starting a business guerrilla style means you cannot engage without knowing your potential retreat path, not out of fear, but out of alertness. You understand that if you start with limited resources, you have to operate in a way that allows you to adjust or withdraw at any time. And finally, always remember, the guerrilla entrepreneur doesn't need to fight constantly. Just effectively, no need to win every single battle. Just need to survive to continue the campaign. And finally, we come to what might be the most inspiring part of today's video. 10 stories of modern guerrilla entrepreneurs. 10 individuals representing thousands silently navigating the startup battle and succeeding with small but extremely smart approaches. Story number 1. The woman delivering meals by bicycle who successfully retained 60 customers without a fan page. Tuyat Mai, 31 years old, living in Tu Duc. She used to be an office worker who quit her job after giving birth to her first child. Her husband worked far away. Her mother was elderly and frail, and her child was still young. She couldn't easily go out to find work like before, but simply sitting still wasn't an option. One day, she cooked extra meals for her mother and child and posted on her personal Facebook with the caption, "Home-cooked meals. Anyone nearby need a clean lunch for tomorrow?" Unexpectedly, a friend working in a nearby office asked, "Are you really cooking tomorrow? I'll order 2 portions right away. I'm sick of eating out." And so, Mai's first initiative began from her home kitchen. She had no capital, did no advertising, didn't pressure sales, just decent cooking skills, a small bicycle, and a notebook to record each customer's preferences. Mai didn't create a fixed menu. She simply wrote down each person's preferred foods and dislikes. She noted who avoided onions, who liked saltier food, who ate less rice, who disliked spicy food. Every day, she prepared the right dish in the right portion, labeled each lunchbox with the person's name, delivered it personally with a smile, and received cash or bank transfers. Her daily orders grew from 2 meals to 6, then 20, then 30. She didn't create a fan page and capped her orders at 60 per day, reasoning that she only had 1 kitchen, 1 bicycle, and a limited delivery window, 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Taking on more would risk reducing quality. And poor quality would mean losing everything. She retains customers with 3 personal touches often overlooked in marketing classes. 1. Remembering each person's preferences without asking. Taking mental, or written, notes if a customer seems stressed. Then preparing something comforting or easy to eat the next day. Adding a small piece of fruit and a handwritten note on colored paper. With simple wishes like, "Hope you feel less tired today, sister," or "Good luck on your exam," placed inside the lunchbox. She doesn't use TikTok or run Google ads. But every month Mai earns 8 to 10 million Vietnamese dongs in real money. It's regular income, without flashy growth or constant promotions. More importantly, she takes care of her child, helps her mother, and maintains a valuable quality of life for herself. Mai didn't open a restaurant. Mai didn't start a big business. But she established a small operational base and a sustainable model through an extremely guerrilla approach. Delivering food by bicycle and retaining customers through personal care. The lesson learned is that in a noisy, impersonal era, sometimes the strongest way to retain customers isn't technology, but timely, genuine humanity. Story number 2. The unsigned electrician, available 24/7. A guerrilla service model serving only a 2 kilometers radius. Earning over 12 million Vietnamese dongs a month. Often called before people even think of using an app. Van Phuc, 35 years old, from Dong Nai, living in Binh Tan, Ho Chi Minh City. He used to be a construction electrician specializing in installations in factory areas. His job was somewhat stable but far from home, with an unpredictable schedule and various salary deductions. After his wife gave birth to their first child, Phuc decided to quit his job and become a freelancer. At first, he fixed fans, electrical outlets, and installed switches for neighbors. But he didn't know how to market his services. He didn't know how to create a fan page. He didn't know how to brand himself effectively. Then one day, a small incident helped him find the right approach. That night, around 10 p.m., someone from a neighboring boarding house called frantically, "Mr. Phuc, our electrical outlet sparked, is smoking." We called 4 places, but no one came. Phuc brought his tools over and fixed the problem in about 15 minutes. Before leaving, he didn't say much but left a handwritten note. "I'm Phuc. I fix electrical issues anytime within 2 kilometers. Call me." That piece of paper was photographed and shared in the boarding house's Zalo group. From there, it spread to the next block. Then the whole row of boarding houses. Shippers, workers, mothers, and students all started passing around Mr. Phuc's number, referring to him for quick electrical fixes, almost like an emergency rescue service. Phuc doesn't have a Google Maps location, doesn't need a fan page, doesn't need a formal service profile. But he offers 4 things few others do reliably. He picks up the phone at all hours, including late at night, e.g. 10 to 11 p.m. He only serves within a 2 kilometers radius, ensuring very quick arrival times. He charges a fair, consistent price, never gouging customers late at night or during emergencies. He keeps careful records of the work done, so he doesn't need to ask repetitive questions on subsequent visits. His average income is over 12 million Vietnamese dongs a month. There are no massive contracts worth hundreds of millions, but the steady stream of smaller jobs brings in a few 100,000 VND almost every day. Real money, real work, less competition, less drama. No one has labeled Phuc as a formal startup, but those who've experienced an electrical issue late at night consider him indispensable. Guerrilla entrepreneurship isn't always about doing grand things, but about choosing the right niche and serving it exceptionally well within your capacity. The lesson learned: you don't need to serve everyone. Serving a small area or a specific group exceptionally well, addressing a clear problem, combined into previous sentence, can provide a solid basis for a viable business. Story number 3. The student excelling at presentation design for teachers. Ha V, a 22-year-old final-year sociology student at the University of Social Sciences and Humanities. Wasn't an excellent student, wasn't active in clubs, and didn't run events, but she possessed one hidden talent: presenting documents beautifully, cleanly formatted. Well organized, easy to read, using Word and PowerPoint. The first time she realized she had a marketable skill was when she made slides to help a friend majoring in pedagogy. Her friend posted the slides on Facebook, and their instructor praised them, asking, "Who made this slide for you? I need someone to help create online lecture materials. Can you send me their contact number?" The first time, V did it for free. The second time, she charged 200,000 VND. The third time, 300 Vietnamese dongs. And from there, a niche market opened up that V had never considered. Her customers weren't students, but rather middle school teachers, high school teachers, and university lecturers. People who had the content but lacked the time or perhaps the skills to create professional lecture slides. V started to establish herself in this niche, using an extremely guerrilla approach. No page creation, no advertising, just careful work, on-time delivery, and tailoring the style to each teacher's preference. Some preferred presentations heavy on photos. Others wanted more text. Some requested concise slides with few lines per screen, combined into previous sentence. V catered to all these preferences. Each time she met a teacher's specific needs, it often led to another referral. Her client base grew from 2 to 10. Each week, she completed 3 to 5 projects. Her price fluctuated from 150,000 to 500,000 VND. Depending on the complexity, her average monthly income was 4 to 6 million Vietnamese dongs. She faced little direct competition, minimal pressure, and fewer tight deadlines compared to typical freelance writing. The special thing is, V didn't need deep subject matter expertise. She just needed to know how to present content provided by others into beautiful, easy to use, and easy to present documents. That skill was enough to make a living. Do you have skills you never thought could become a profession? If you apply them to the right person, at the right time, fulfilling the right need, they can become a very real income model. Lesson learned. People with subject matter expertise aren't necessarily skilled at presentation. And those who can help them present effectively will always have a place, even operating quietly. Story number 4. The rural mother selling traditional cakes via Zalo. Using delivery services, she sells successfully without leaving home. Ms. Hong, e.g. 43 years old from Tra Vinh, went to Saigon to work as a maid, then returned home when her mother fell ill. She stayed home, taking care of her children and managing housework. She possessed a skill few people paid attention to anymore, wrapping traditional banh yu incredibly fast, neatly, and beautifully, a skill passed down from her mother, often practiced for Tet holidays, funerals, and village ceremonies. She never thought it could be a way to make a living until one day her son, a design student, suggested, "Mom, try wrapping some banh yu. I'll take nice pictures, post them on Zalo, and try selling them to my friend's company." She hesitated. She felt embarrassed, thinking no one ate banh yu regularly anymore. She was embarrassed, thinking no one would want to buy traditional cakes from the countryside delivered all the way in Saigon. She was embarrassed because she didn't know how to sell online. But she figured, what was the harm in trying? The first time, she gave 30 cakes to her son's friends. The second batch of 50 sold out within 2 days. The third batch increased to 120 as customers began placing advance orders. She didn't deliver personally, offer discounts, or overproduce. She focused on fulfilling pre-orders. She made the exact amount ordered, in the requested flavor, for the specific date, and ensured timely delivery to the right place using Grab, a ride-sharing delivery service. What was her weapon? Her weapon? The cake itself. A perfect texture, similar to traditional banh cake. Perhaps meaning authentic or rustic style. Not too chewy. The wrapping was incredibly neat and eye-catching. Very photogenic even without filters. The presentation was simple but sophisticated. A simple stamp identified them. Banh yu ma hong, Mother Hong's banh yu. It emphasized the countryside origin. Authentic provincial style. She sells portions of 5 for 65 Vietnamese dongs and combos of 10 for 120 Vietnamese dongs. Occasionally, companies order 100 pieces for small ceremonies or as employee bonuses. She doesn't need a fan page, just Zalo for orders. She doesn't need much capital because she collects payment upfront before making the cakes. She doesn't need elaborate sales pitches. One bite is often enough for customers to remember the taste. Currently, she works steadily about 3 days a week, taking 4 days off. Her average income is 9 to 11 million Vietnamese dongs a month. The profit margin per cake might be small, but she minimizes waste and doesn't risk significant capital. She didn't start with a grand business dream. She simply chose to revive a skill that was almost forgotten. She made her product clean enough, beautiful enough, and targeted the right people. Then let customers spread the word. The lesson learned is that in the era of fast food, sometimes a traditional dish made properly becomes a sought-after novelty. If you make something authentic and good, people will recognize its value. Story number 5. The unemployed man cleaning shoes from home, no shop. No machine, just hands and patience. Name: E.G. Koi, 27 years old from Anjiang. Used to be an inner-city delivery staff. After the pandemic, work became scarce and income unstable, eventually leaving him unemployed, with rent due and money almost gone. Job applications sent to many places yielded no response. While feeling depressed, he cleaned his closet and found more than 6 pairs of his own old, dusty shoes. He thought to himself, "No one wants to wear dirty shoes to an interview. And no one wants their favorite shoes ruined because they don't know how to clean them properly." He looked up proper shoe cleaning techniques online. Step-by-step methods for cleaning soles, treating yellow stains, removing mold, and softening leather. He tested the methods on his own shoes, then his roommates. Then, he posted in their boarding house group, "Anyone with old shoes? Let me clean 1 pair for free. If they come out clean, just give me some feedback." After 3 days, he received 7 pairs to wash. After 1 week, 11 people texted asking for his price. He decided to start a shoe washing service operating from his yard. He had no sign, no price list hanging on the wall, only a handwritten paperboard. Wash and clean. Renewing sneakers, canvas shoes, leather shoes. He received items in person. In the Bin Ton and Go Vap areas, prices ranged from 40.000 to 80 Vietnamese dongs per pair. His weapon wasn't fancy equipment, but meticulous care, treating hundreds of pairs as if they were his own. He returned shoes on time, maintaining their shape without distortion or scratches. He included small, handwritten notes like, "Thank you for giving this pair of shoes the chance to continue walking with you." His name. He didn't accept more than 7 pairs a day to ensure quality. He worked from morning to noon, delivered in the evening, and received shoes, all without opening a formal shop, but creating a service built on care and trust. After 3 months, he had built a customer base, mainly students, young office workers, and sneaker enthusiasts. Each month, he made a profit of 7 to 9 million Vietnamese dongs, covering personal expenses and sending money back to his hometown. He succeeded not just because he washed shoes, but because he identified a need at the right time and performed a seemingly small job with great seriousness. The lesson here is that in an era where everyone wants to build large-scale models, sometimes you just need a small niche where you can do something really well, really decently, and live comfortably. With that, let's move to story. Story number 6. The 58-year-old lady selling evening sweet soups via Zalo. She doesn't operate a stall but accepts orders via resident Zalo groups and delivers locally using her son's old motorbike, a hyper-local guerrilla business. Despite the small scale, the income is respectable. Mrs. Diem, 58 years old, lives with her son and grandson in a low-cost apartment in District 8. She used to sell goods at the local market, but due to her age and leg weakness, she could no longer stand for hours each morning. She stayed home, cooked meals, but felt like she wasn't contributing enough to help her children. One day, she cooked a pot of Chai Do Sun, mung bean sweet soup, a specialty from her hometown in Tianjiang, to share with downstairs neighbors. Everyone who ate it praised it. "Mother Diem, please sell this. We crave sweets like this at night but don't know where to buy good ones." That night, her daughter-in-law posted a photo of the sweet soup in a glass on their building's resident Zalo group with the caption, "Tonight my mother-in-law cooked Chai Do Sun. If anyone wants to try some to warm their stomach, please contact me. I'll deliver a glass to your door." Within 5 minutes, 10 people ordered. Her 19-year-old nephew delivered the first cups by motorbike. The last cup might be delivered to the 7th floor with a "Good night" message written in blue ballpoint pen on the lid. And so, Mother Diem's evening sweet soup operation began. No sign, No fan page, no pressure causing her to lose sleep, just a pot of delicious sweet soup. She rotated 3 to 4 types: mung bean, che do sun; black bean, che do den; taro, che koi mon; lotus seed, che hat sen; sweet corn, che bap; pandan jelly, etc. Every night, she sells about 25 to 35 cups for only 12.000 to 15 Vietnamese dong per cup. It's inexpensive, clean, cooked thoroughly, with no MSG or artificial colorants. All her customers are in the same apartment building or adjacent ones. No long-distance delivery, no need for shipping apps, no fear of fake orders. Her method is very guerrilla. Cook just enough to sell out. No leftovers, no waste. Zalo is used for taking orders. She delivers efficiently by floor clusters to save time and effort. Customer names are written on cups, often with small notes. Sister Mai Li, less sugar. Sister Ha, add specific ingredient, topping, so recipients feel personally remembered. Her grandson helps run the deliveries. Her son helps collect money and keep simple accounts. And she, Mother Diem, remains the center, the person behind the pot. She is the person behind the pot, providing a small but heartwarming service with a steady total income of over 7 million Vietnamese dongs a month. She operates without jostling for space or depending on anything beyond her small kitchen corner and the community around her. She may not be the owner of a formal business, but she is the owner of her kitchen and her time. The small cash flow is enough to maintain independence. The lesson learned is that within an existing community, kindness and quality can generate orders. You don't always have to go far to find customers. Sometimes the customer is right across the hall or down the stairs. Story number 7. The pet-loving student offering in-home pet sitting. No premises, no capital needed beyond trustworthiness and genuine affection for animals. Min Nyat, a 20-year-old second-year biotechnology student at Nam Lam University, has loved dogs and cats since childhood. But circumstances didn't allow him to own many pets. So Nyat satisfied his love for them by offering to help friends take care of their pets whenever they were busy. From bathing and walking to feeding and playing, Nyat did everything happily without accepting payment. Until one day, a friend's family went on a 5-day trip and asked Nyat to pet sit their 3-year-old poodle at their home. They left an envelope with 300 Vietnamese dongs and a message: "You treat him like family. Like a professional sitter. Why don't you offer this as a service?" That suggestion sparked an idea. No need for premises. No need to open a boarding facility. He just needed to offer in-home pet sitting, going to the clients' houses. Nyat immediately tested the idea quickly by posting in a pet lovers group in Ho Chi Minh City. "Anyone preparing to go on holiday and needs pet care? I offer in-home sitting. I come to your house. Reasonable rates." 3 days later, 2 people texted him. A week later, 5 people asked to try his service. A month later, Nyat had 9 regular customers and typically over 15 days booked per month. Nyat's way of operating exemplifies guerrilla thinking. He only accepts customers within a 5 to 7 kilometers radius of his boarding house for convenient transportation. He provides in-home sitting to minimize pet stress from unfamiliar environments. He sends daily video updates of the pet to the owner, providing reports like a professional service. He only accepts a limited number of clients simultaneously, e.g. maximum 3 houses a day. To ensure careful, dedicated attention, his service prices are reasonable. One visit per day might cost 70.000 to 100.000 VND, depending on the number of pets. He offers package discounts for 3 to 5 day stays, e.g. 10% off, and special overnight packages if clients are traveling further away. His operational costs are almost zero. His income reached 6 to 8 million Vietnamese dongs per month, all while continuing his studies normally. More importantly, Nyat doesn't view this merely as a part-time job but as a real service model built on reputation, genuine affection for animals, and strong connections within the local pet community. Nyat doesn't have a chain of stores, but he has a loyal customer base. Nyat doesn't have a big sign, but he has a waiting list for bookings during holidays. The lesson here is that not everyone who loves dogs and cats can automatically make money from it. But if you truly love them, understand their needs, and provide excellent service, the market will likely respond positively. Story number 8. The motorbike taxi driver teaching traditional music for free, at first. After the first 3 months, attendees began contributing voluntarily. It's a form of cultural guerrilla action, preserving an old art form with a new, community-based approach. Uncle Sue, 56 years old, originally from Bac Lu in the Mekong Delta, came to Ho Chi Minh City to drive a motorbike taxi in 2003. During the day, he transports goods and customers. At night, instead of watching TV or drinking, he takes out his guitar and plays alone, humming old Vong Ko verses. Once, a boy in the next room sat listening enthusiastically and asked, "Uncle, can you teach me to play the guitar?" He smiled. "I can teach, but I teach in a simple, traditional style, not with advanced music theory." A few days later, 2 more children came to listen and learn. The next week, a retired man asked to join, and several female workers also asked to learn, curious about the famous traditional song Da Ko Hoi Lang. And so, from the porch of his rented room, an informal Don Ca Tai Tu class began. Without any sign, Uncle Sue initially didn't collect any money, just told those with guitars to bring them and those without to sit and watch. Gradually, the practice sessions became more regular. Uncle Sue copied lyrics by hand and kept spare strings for those who needed them. If anyone had a broken guitar, he would try to fix it for them. At the end of the sessions, participants could practice performing short pieces. After 3 months, the number of attendees hadn't decreased, it had actually increased. A female worker offered Uncle Sue a fee. She said, "I couldn't afford formal classes, but studying with you, I understand and feel happy." Combined into previous sentence, "I respect you very much. Please accept this coffee money." He initially refused, but then, the attendees collectively decided to contribute to a fund to maintain the class. Each person could contribute 50.000 to 100 Vietnamese dongs per month if they were able. Those without money contributed in other ways: mineral water, snacks, an old guitar, or a plastic chair. That informal class has now existed for nearly 2 years. More than 40 people have attended at various times. More than 20 people are still regularly learning. His income from the voluntary fund is modest, about 3 to 4 million Vietnamese dongs a month, but stable, appreciated, and full of goodwill. Uncle Sue isn't running formal music classes. He isn't starting an education business. He is simply sharing the fire of his passion authentically. Then, genuine learners come. The lesson learned is that culture doesn't die if just one person is persistent enough to keep the flame alive. Not every class needs a whiteboard or projector. Sometimes, it just needs one passionate individual and a group of people who genuinely want to learn. Story number 9. The career switcher doing nails from home. No shop, no sign, serving regular customers, often from her network of old classmates, earning a higher income than her previous office job. A type of discreet, flexible, and highly viable guerrilla beauty service. Ngoc Han, 28 years old, used to work as an administrative staff member at an office equipment company in District 10. Her salary was 7 million Vietnamese dongs. She worked 8 hours a day, commuted early and late, and often ate boxed lunches. She quit her job after the company downsized and was initially confused about her next steps. She had loved doing nails since high school. Han had attended evening vocational classes for fun. Her skills were quite good, but she never considered it her main job until she did a set of nails for a friend's birthday. The friend posted an online story praising the beautiful nails and Han's gentle technique. That very night, 3 people texted Han asking, "Do you do nails at home? Do you accept outside clients?" And that's when Han realized her next move would begin, with a nail file and a bottle of polish. She set up with no shop, no sign, no massage chair, no fancy LED lights, just a small corner in her clean, bright room, fully equipped with her tools. Han started her beauty service guerrilla style, receiving bookings via private messages, having no public price list, and only serving during time slots that she set proactively, e.g. 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., allowing her to take extremely good care of each client's nails. She didn't rush, working on a maximum of 4 customers a day. She remembered individual preferences. Who liked nude colors? Who loved metallic stones? Who was sensitive to strong glue smells? Her main clients were old classmates, former colleagues, friends of friends, and repeat customers. No random walk-ins initially. No crowds. No waiting area. Each customer had their own dedicated appointment slot. No overlap. She might offer hot tea or a wet towel for comfort. Her self-set prices were 120.000 to 250 Vietnamese dongs per set. Depending on the difficulty, she offered additional care services, like nail polish powder application if requested. No discounts, but extremely thorough work. She didn't focus on high volume, but cultivated extremely loyal customers. Her average income reached 10 to 13 million Vietnamese dongs a month. She worked in her 16 square meters rented room but lived comfortably, proactively, and with less stress than in her office job. And crucially, she felt happy and confident. She did her job skillfully and with genuine care. Han doesn't work in a traditional salon. Han didn't become a famous TikToker, but she achieved what many unemployed people dream of, having real, fulfilling work and genuine control over it. The lesson learned: not everyone needs to open a shop to be their own boss. One person, one set of tools, and a small but loyal group of customers can be enough to live a decent, free life. Story number 10. The college dropout helping students with CVs and profiles. He doesn't call it a startup, but he helps numerous students prepare for graduation and job hunting, while supporting himself in the competitive freelance market. Tuan Kiet, 25 years old, studied business administration at a university in Ho Chi Minh City. In his third year, Kiet decided to drop out, not because he was failing, but because he felt the path wasn't suitable for him and struggled to see a clear way forward. The dry, theoretical subjects felt unsuitable. His decision shocked his parents, and his friends expressed regret. Kiet went back to his hometown for 3 months to rethink his direction. One day, his older cousin asked Kiet to edit his internship CV. Kiet worked on the Word file, editing the text, suggesting additional descriptions, and changing the presentation format. After submitting it, his cousin was accepted for the internship and came back saying, "You did a great job. My friend needs help editing theirs too. Let me introduce you." And so, from one introduction and one expression of thanks, Kiet accidentally launched his first career initiative, an unadvertised service offering writing, editing, profile building, CV consulting, and potentially presentation help for graduation theses, exclusively for final year students. Kiet's approach was very practical and guerrilla style. He only accepted clients via private messages, not public advertisements. He offered sample essays, bonus job application tips, and would even record consultations if clients needed to review them later. He always delivered clean, easy-to-use PDF files. It wasn't just profile editing, he often provided psychological troubleshooting, helping students overcome pre-graduation anxieties. His customers were students, often those finishing their studies who didn't know what to write on their CV, how to describe their internship experience, or how to craft a compelling job application. His CV editing service price was 100.000 to 150 Vietnamese dongs. Creating a complete profile cost 250.000 to 400 Vietnamese dongs. Consulting on graduation presentation content and form ranged from 300.000 to 600.000 VND. Depending on complexity, each month, he served 25 to 40 clients. His stable income ranged from 8 to 12 million Vietnamese dongs. He had no team, no office, and no need to run ads. His success relied solely on reputation, skills, and dedication to a customer group often overlooked. The special thing: many clients, after getting jobs with his help, returned to ask Kiet for assistance with scholarship applications, recommendation letters, or master's degree applications. His client relationships grew. They grew with Kiet because he didn't just sell a service, he genuinely helped people transition to a new stage. Kiet didn't graduate from university but helped hundreds of students prepare effectively for graduation. He didn't open a formal company but opened doors to the future for others. And, most importantly, KIET lives proactively and valuably within a small niche few considered. The lesson learned. In a society overflowing with technology and talent, a guide who helps others clarify their strengths and present themselves effectively will always have value. You don't need to be the top expert. You just need to be one step ahead and more skilled in that specific area than the person you serve. And so, we have just reviewed 10 true stories of 10 modern-day guerrilla entrepreneurs. Each has a different profession, niche, and starting point, but they all share one thing. They didn't wait until they had substantial money or perfect conditions to start. They chose to begin with a small but very real action. Starting a business doesn't necessarily require media attention, a physical sign, or a large team. It just requires someone willing to take the first step with what they have in hand and a basic map in mind, enough to pave the initial path. It's not about risking everything recklessly to make money, but about learning how to operate smartly in a volatile world. We have covered the entire guerrilla startup map, the fulcrum, knowing what you have. The base, choosing the right battlefield. The battle plan, acting quickly. Securing sales, earning real money. And the exit strategy, retreating or pivoting smartly to preserve energy and fight another day. These are not impromptu steps but a coherent survival strategy for those starting not from the top, but from the ground up, or even from underground obscurity. If you pay close attention, you'll see that each character featured in this video didn't achieve massive success instantly. There was someone wrapping cakes. There was someone cleaning shoes. There was someone telling stories. There was someone selling nut milk. But they all had one thing in common. They didn't wait until they had everything before starting. They started with what they possessed and turned it into something others needed. And that is often the core nature of successful grassroots entrepreneurship. The guerrilla approach isn't about fighting the whole world, but about squeezing through the smallest gaps to survive initially. And then, from that point of existence, potentially breaking out, expanding, and transforming. Starting as a guerrilla can eventually lead to becoming a strategist. Starting with limited resources does not mean having to live a life of perpetual deprivation. Starting from a narrow angle doesn't mean the future must be narrow. If you proceed thoughtfully, sober enough, persistently, far enough, and with depth, deep enough. Like wanting to run fast requires balance. Wanting to go far often requires support, even if self-generated initially. To survive in the marketplace, one often needs to know how to fight like a guerrilla but think like a general. So, if today you feel you have nothing tangible in hand, don't be discouraged. Quietly observe, slowly prepare, and choose your first move very carefully. Don't necessarily dream of opening a large company right away. Initiate your first action. Don't rush to seek large amounts of capital immediately. Connect with the right people, customers, mentors, initial supporters. Don't force yourself to do overwhelmingly big things at the start. Focus on doing the right small things well. Let the market respond and potentially expand organically. Because in the end, life doesn't primarily ask which school you attended, how much capital you started with, or who you knew. It often asks if you dared to start and had the courage to continue adaptively. Starting a guerrilla business isn't about being dramatically different from others, but about daring to be true to your capabilities and the market's needs. Be fast enough, sober enough, realistic, and deep enough, committed, skilled, to stand firm amidst challenges. And that's what real-life guerrilla entrepreneurs are doing every day. No excessive noise, no major media coverage, but step by step, building their own freedom. Due to time constraints, we would like to conclude here. I hope this video has been useful to you. If it has helped you even in a small way, I feel very satisfied. Please consider saving the video to your playlist. If you want to listen again anytime, please like and share it so more people can benefit. Because sometimes a timely message can change a life. And don't forget to subscribe to the Thwa Thuong Nyan channel. Click the notification bell so you don't miss the next valuable videos. Hello and see you again.